Welcome back, American Family Radio Network, Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. Of course, the big news today and the big headline is going to be unemployment rate goes down to 6.7%. Mainstream media is going to love this number. The Obama administration is going to love this number. Everybody's going to love this number. I love the number if it were only true. If it were only true. But for those who don't really care about the truth, don't understand the truth, don't want to know the truth, it's irrelevant because the 6.7% is a wonderful number. Forget that we have fewer people in the labor participation rate than we did back 36 years ago. Forget that. Because the way I'm figuring it, for the last 36 years, we've had no population growth, right? I don't think we've had any college graduates looking for jobs in the last 36 years, so that's not an issue. I don't think we've had anybody coming out of high school that going into the workforce that was looking for jobs, so that shouldn't be an issue. I don't think has there been, I don't think we've had a whole lot of, people getting older in 36 years from, 10 years old to 46 years old now that could be working. So I guess it's not an issue, that we're back to where we were 36 years ago. Not to mention, if the administration is correct and all the progressive liberals are right, it would also mean that all these people are retired, right? So I wrote a 36-year low. And not only are they all retired, but they haven't been replaced at all. So all of just this month, 247,000 people that have been vaporized, not only have they retired, but we haven't had even 1,000 going into the workforce to replace that. Or maybe we have, and the number's a lot worse. So that means that Social Security ought to be bankrupt in about 3 years as opposed to 16 years, right? Because how are we doing this? All these people that are retired now, just last month, 247,000, with nobody else coming into the workforce in order to put into Social Security to pay for the 247,000, that means we're in even bigger trouble in entitlements to Social Security than we thought we were, right? But they argue against that. And they say, no, we're okay. Well, wait a minute. That doesn't compute because the math just doesn't work. So how are you getting your cake and eat it too? We have 247,000 people that are gone. And according to most economists and academics, they're all retired, which means they're now collecting Social Security. And we don't have anybody else coming in to replace it. And that's been going on every month now for the last 5 years. How is it possible that Social Security can't be bankrupt when we don't have anybody replacing them? Because if we had somebody replacing them, we wouldn't be at a 36-year low on labor participation rate. Maybe we'd be at a 15-year low, but that's better than a 36-year low, right? Or maybe we're really at about a 70-year low, and the people that have come into the workforce have made it only look like a 36-year low, which means we're still in big, big trouble when it comes to entitlements, Medicare and Social Security. But since they're not talking about the fact that Social Security or Medicare is going to be bankrupt in the next couple of years as a result of all these people going into retirement, it's either not true or they're just hiding it from us and they're going to drop it on us in a couple of years. Do you see why I get so crazy? I mean, look, you all have common sense. You get it. You don't need, listen, I just laid out the simple math of it all. Oh, I know they've got all these economic formulas and processes by which they can, justify this or try to make logical sense of it. But really, you can do all that you want, but the math still doesn't work. And no one seems to want to address that. By the way, that goes for conservative media. Nobody seems to want to address that. We've got more college aged or more college graduates in the last 3 years unemployed than any time in the history of this nation. Can't find a job. The very people that put this administration in office, they can't get a job. They're not even looking for a job. They're part of this 347 that have been vaporized this month. I don't get, I don't have a concern. If these were true numbers, I don't have a concern for I shouldn't say that. I do have a concern that 347,000 people are gone. I do have a concern about that. But if they're accurate, then they are what they are. What are we doing about it? We're not doing anything about it. Why would we do anything about it? We got an unemployment rate of 6.7%. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that. We've had 6.7% unemployment rates in some of the most thriving economies in the nation. So, what do we need to do about it? What about it? We had a 6.7% unemployment rate. This president is a brilliant president when it comes to dealing with the economy. Look what he's done. Look what he's done just in this term alone to bring down the unemployment rate. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. All right. My sarcasm is taken over, so I better get to the phones. That's Rapid Fire Friday, too. We're going to stay with the phones. Here's the deal, folks. Let's try to keep it to one question and one comment so we can keep moving on. We got a full board. 866-300. 9298. 866-300-9298. Let me go to Chase. Chase calling us from Texas. Hey, Chase, how are you, brother?
I'm good this morning. How are you, Dan?
Good.
I know you're a credit union man. I am too myself, but I was just curious, if you had to go open up a checking account, a savings account at one of these bigger banks that are all around, your Bank of America, your Chase and all that, I just was kind of curious which one you thought would be the best to go put your money into if you had to.
Yeah, boy, that is really a tough question. If I had to, absolutely, if I absolutely had to, I don't know. I just don't, I don't even know. I guess, oh man, that's a really tough question. I think they're all so bad. I would probably go to another town and open it up in a community bank. I don't know. I don't think I would. I just wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what I do. Jason, here's what I would say as I struggle to find an answer. I would say I would open it if I absolutely had to. I would go to any one of them because they're all bad. I don't want to support any of them. So if I had to, I can't say. I think that all 5 of them are shamefully bad. I would say the worst is probably Citibank, in my opinion. But, they're all bad. There's all a certain amount of corruption. There's all a certain amount of gambling. Here's the upside to it. They're all going to get bailed out again during the next crisis. So you don't have to worry like you might in the community bank with them going bankrupt and not getting bailed out, which I don't even think that's a worry. But they're definitely going to get bailed out because it would be literally impossible for the government to let any one of them fail. So that's not going to happen. So that's the upside. But I think since I don't think highly about any of them, I guess it wouldn't matter. I know that really doesn't answer your question direct, but
no, that's fair enough. I know credit unions. I definitely think they're the way to go to. Like I said, I was just kind of curious. If you had to avoid which one you might.
Yeah, good question. You stumped me today on that one, and I appreciate it. But it is a good question, and I just if we can go, folks, to a community bank or credit union, if that's what I would do. And, really now with the computer age, you can do it even online. I do all my credit union banking. I don't have a branch of my credit union anywhere near me, and I do it all online. I make my deposits, by taking a picture of my check that I'm depositing. I do everything online. And, I think we're going to see brick and mortar banks, even in the big ones, going by the wayside. Let me go to Michael. Michael calling us from West Virginia. Hey, Michael. Michael?
Hello, Dan.
How are you, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing fine here. How about you?
Okay.
Here's my quandary.
Okay.
It has to do with figuring out the unemployment figures.
Okay.
I always figured that you take the workforce, the number of people in the workforce, and subtract those that are actively employed, paying taxes, and the rest are unemployed.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
Well, nothing's wrong with it, and that's what Gallup does every month. So, I mean, if you ever want to know what the Gallup unemployment number is, which is basically what they do, which in their numbers this week, it's 7.4% is the unemployment rate. Now, that's still, though, so Gallup is doing that, but it is still probably got some issues because that is only, they're only looking strictly at full-time employment. So they don't, count all the people that are temporarily employed. So that would bring that number down even a little bit lower. But they, too, don't have the ability to really get a good handle on how much of the working or how much of the population is, in fact, of working age or desires to work. That's a hard thing for them to do. And it's also not taking into account the factoring in year over year the growth in population as it would replace those that are leaving the workforce. So even their calculations are difficult. So the U6 number, which is the underemployment number, is still at about 13%. So 13, according to the BLS. So the 13% of the population is working, computer engineers working, waiting tables and working in retail, the underemployed. It doesn't take into effect how many hours they're working, but the recent number shows that the hours worked are 34 hours a week. The other problem with Gallup is their full-time worker is 30 hours. So when they calculate it, they use 30 hours. I don't know why or how, what made them come up with that, but their full-time employee is 30 hours a week. So when you look at all of these numbers, it's hard. I mean, Gallup has the underemployed at 17.1%. People that are underemployed. The government has it at 13%. Their unemployed is 7.5. The government now has it at 6.7. I think that somewhere in between, maybe not right in between, but I think the real unemployment rate, when you factor in inflation on GDP and you factor in population growth, and I don't mean population growth as newborn American citizens. I mean population growth as the American citizens that become of age to go to work. So when you factor all that in, the unemployment rate is somewhere about 11%. When you put back in, if you go back to 2008 and put back in the labor participation that we had in 2008, you put that back in, now the unemployment rate's going to go somewhere over that. This is not the underemployment. The unemployment rate's going to go somewhere around 12 to 13%. So there are so many different, factors here that are used. So kind of, I would say that Gallup does a hybrid, but your way of going to the Census Bureau, and by the way, the Census Bureau numbers are not accurate. They lag by a year or two now. The Census Bureau numbers aren't exactly accurate. I think it was January 2012 numbers. So when you look at that, that's, to try to get a handle on, okay, our working population is this, our population is this, our working population is this, and we have this many people working out of that working population. Even that's not accurate, because I don't think that population, it doesn't take into effect, not that we should, but nevertheless, you've got illegal immigrants that are nowhere on the radar screen, that are either are not working and counting on public assistance. So I think you need to take everybody that's on food stamps, everybody that's on disability benefits, everybody that you can count as unemployed, that hasn't totally dropped out of everything as unemployed. You've got to take all of those things into account to even begin to get close to a real unemployment number. And then you've got to figure out what the reasonable, when you count in inflation and population growth, what should the labor participation rate be? And it's very easy to determine how many people really are retired. You just got to look at Social Security. It's not that hard. So now it's not necessarily true that people collecting Social Security are not working. But even if you just factored, if you didn't care about that, and you said if you're collecting Social Security, you're unemployed, the rate would be much, much higher, and it would indicate that we're in much, much bigger trouble. So it's a very difficult thing. Go to BLS.gov and just keep searching. You'll see all the charts, and then go to the Department of Labor and Department of Commerce. It's a monumental task trying to come up with all those numbers. 866-300-9298. We'll be right back.